Greetings mortals, while this TDS series is ongoing for adaptive reasons, this will be the final note for the time being. What actually started this series was a personal disgust towards how male VAs are constantly being treated worse and worse. I am not certain if the final straw was the Hoyoverse PR disaster or that one lady VA who claimed openly to have violated a younger male using Me Too to threaten his compliance. If the former is true, note that this female VA was merely suspended for a month, yet the same company in question had gotten the male she supposedly threatened fired. The truth or lies of her statement were never put into question, neither was whether or not her claimed actions constituted a crime. I strongly believe they do. I do not believe in forced consent being legitimate consent regardless the gender on the receiving end of the hostility. Yet I cannot bring myself to overlook that she had done something horrendous and was only given a month's suspension, and the man, who likely didn't even work in the same company, was forced to lose his place of employment. As someone who was born female, I find myself disgusted with how women are constantly coddled in this manner. I would much rather be able to go to art shows without some single sworn bachelor for life looking at me as if I intend to wreak absolute chaos. While his first impressions seem dark and underhanded, with what I have seen and know these kinds of gender terrorists to do, I cannot blame them for being precautious. I should add there has never been conflict that I have seen, I just notice it does affect my sales when I don't have a male to accompany me to the show. For these women to claim they are improving the lives of other women is a bad joke. The more famous they become, the more cold-hearted and bull-headed a woman seems to get. Some females blame men first and not any other factor that could have more impact. Rarely do you ever see a female in the industry be honest where this comes from, and its source is as unexpected to the outside as it is expected to one like myself. The reason I do not cover predatory contracts is because at this time I think they are equal in scope where offense comes into play. Another thing is actors are encouraged to have a lawyer on retainer for their contracts to help them avoid predatory contracts. This advice is shared rather the VA in question is male or female, but for men I suggest you have an added stash just in case you need to go after false accusers. I really do look forward to a day when I get to see this series and say it was just a bad fragment of history. I know that day may not come soon. The source of this comes from a book written out of pure hatred for men. The malicious instructions are where most of the PR statements I see come from, and I know for a fact the industry is corrupted. There is no salvation for the writer of the book in question, but the industry can still be saved if they are willing to change their ways. All this crybabying about blaming victims and suppressing women is useless, as the only thing these triggers do is hide that someone's life is threatened by this on both sides. As much as no one likes to hear of the horrible acts, if there is no victim, the accused becomes the victim. In truth, asking the right questions is not harming victims but making sure that the false claims are exposed so real claims can be handled properly. Without false claims being pointed to as a source of inspiration, or wasting time that can be spent handling real cases, resources that are wasted on the false accusations can now be used on real cases of concern. This means that by not looking into things properly, the companies are harming real victims for the sake of scary shadows that were never there to begin with. It is for this reason that this will continue, so as to serve as a reminder that false accusers are predatory violators. They do not deserve to be coddled like we do. They need to be exposed and stopped before they harm people, not after. If someone tries telling you there are no false accusers on X side, they are themselves part of the problem, not a solution. Yes, there are men who falsely accuse women of crimes, but there are also women who do the same to men. A notable difference is men are not treated with the same red carpet treatment as the female false accusers. If we finally took the kid gloves off where female false accusers are concerned, there may be something of value at the end of it. A big telltale sign was when Elliot's false accuser started celebrating on Twitter. A truly vile creature she showed herself to be, the display being as horrid. Stopping women like them from having power to destroy a man's life is important. She should have never been credited in anything in the community. That user should have been just another ignored monster screeching into a void.